Hi, everybody. Welcome to Next to Media. I'm Mike Shields. I'm here with Joe Doran. He's the Chief Product Officer at Epsilon. Hey, Joe. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me. I really excited about today's call, and let's dig in.
Same. You know, we're at the end of 2024 or so. Lots of really interesting things to talk about. One of the big stories of the year has been all this scrutiny on the big walled garden, specifically Google. Besides getting into the cases and the legality and the rulings, what do you think of the underlying issues really that we're talking about here? What's driven all this?
Yeah, when I think about what's really driving this and what's really at the core, besides like the money that's there, to me, it really comes down to two big things. It is consumer choice, right, on the open web. Like, how do you ensure that consumers have the appropriate choice for them when they're actually browsing? Right. I also think it comes down to privacy, right? How am I respecting that choice and how am I respecting those privacy related actions that are happening within the ecosystem? And because of the lack of transparency, because of a lot of the issues around it, if you're not honoring those things are things that could come back and have challenges, especially when you think about consumers and how some of these companies make money. Now, these two issues, consumer choice and consumer privacy, clearly are implications that we care about as consumers. But we also have big implications for our advertisers and the marketers that we talk to and interact with day to day, right?
Because let's talk about that. Like, what are you thinking about? What are your clients thinking about? Like, is there an outcome that people are rooting for, quote unquote, in the industry? Like, what would be? Where would you like to see things land? It's such a weird unknown right, because you have this happening right before you have a new administration coming in, but this case is well on its way and there are others to come. What do people want to see happen here?
Well, I tell you what, we as a industry, and I think about the ad tech and martech industry in broadest terms, we tend, the players in it tend not to take action until things are imminent.
Yeah.
Right? So I think a lot of people are thinking about the things that are happening and wrestling their hands. Some people are being proactive. Some people are not being proactive and actually engaging in this. So the marketers, when I think about it, they need to be thinking about the implications of these changes, right? Because these changes are going to be massive on their marketing strategy. And they need to be thinking about, like, how does these changes actually impact my marketing strategy? But more importantly, how is this going to impact the business outcomes that I am trying to drive with my media dollars, right? Because that's what it really comes down to. And to be frank, they need to really be asking, the very basic questions like, can I talk to my customers and my prospects, right, in this future world, right? Today, they know how to do it. But in the future world, a lot of those vehicles and those shortcuts to get there, is changing. So this has huge implications for their marketing and their media strategies as they think of it.
Yeah, it's funny because you think about the consumer aspect is a little bit almost underplayed, with the potential breakup of Google or whoever. I think brands think about, where's my media budget is going to be going in a different place, going in different directions. But if I can't reach the consumer the same way and be as effective, that's going to upend a lot of what I'm trying to do. And that's the kind of stuff they have to think about.
Yep, exactly. And I would say when we think about consumer choice and privacy on the open web, third-party cookies have been gone for, 3 to 4 years for about half the internet, right? It's only Google that is really, with Chrome, is really the last kind of like bastion of third-party cookies. But that's where marketers have continued to leverage their audience-based or people-based strategies, is really only on half the open web. So they left the other half when people are in those cookieless environments, and they haven't really hardened those strategies. So I use every chance I do to really talk to marketers to think deeply about how they're collecting and managing and actually utilizing their first party data that they have, and how they're leveraging kind of like the identity that's actually in the ecosystem, the data that's in the ecosystem, AI, to overcome some of these limitations that are actually inherent today. And it's one of the reasons why, I'm very excited about where Epsilon's going, because I think we have a strong value prop to bring to bear in those areas.
Well, I want to ask you about that value prop, but more broadly, when you talk about the post-cookie world, we've been waiting for it forever. It hasn't happened the way we wanted to. You said it's almost there. We're almost halfway there anyway. do we end up using is it going to be a world where if you have first party data, you're in good shape, otherwise you're in trouble? Are we going to have 3 or 4 really good alternative IDs that emerge? Is it going to be about a people-based system? What's the new landscape look like?
Yep. Well, I think there's going to be there'll be multiple options. I think there'll be multiple options because the opportunity to solve this question for marketers is very large, right? So I think marketers need to invest in building out their first party data and having a first party data capability. But even when they don't have first party data, say if I'm not a direct to consumer company, I need proxies for that purchase behavior. I need proxy for that customer behavior. So I can actually really figure out where people are within that purchase cycle, right? Where are they in the awareness and the consideration in the purchase cycle with me? So I need to have some level of signal, whether that comes from my own first party systems, whether I get that from a second party through some of the data collaboration that's going to exist, or some of the third party syndicated data providers that actually exist out there. The ecosystem will be there. It's just, it needs to not use the legacy pipes that were in place today, because we're removing them with the third party cookie, and really go to things that we think are going to be more future proofed and durable.
There is an assumption that we're going to a place of just more intensified scrutiny on privacy and pushing for choice. But do you think we're also theoretically going to a deregulatory environment? Do you think that, is there any part of the industry wondering, well, maybe we won't have to worry about this stuff as much in this new administration, or are there too many other factors at play there?
Yep. Well, I think that's where there's a lot of people that will build strategies but not execute on it, are kind of like hedging their bets.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, and because we have an industry, like we've been waiting for the third party cookie to disappear for many, many years. Yes. And we're still waiting for it, saying, is it really going to happen? Right. And, my guidance to those marketers is like, well, it doesn't matter whether it happens or not. We're moving towards a consumer choice and consumer privacy open web environment.
Right.
And you need more first party data, right, for you to have better relationships with your consumers and know those consumers in the way they expect to be known, and to really participate in the ecosystem. So they got to do it anyway. And I also think there are definitely marketers that are thinking, hey, if this cookie, populace happens and the third party cookies are going away, maybe I need to rethink my marketing strategy and go back to very broad reach methods. And I think those are kind of like two different schools of thought.
Do you think, we're waiting to see what happens specifically with the Google case, and whether they get broken off, whether they sell off pieces or do something else? Do you think we're going to see, are the other big guys in our industry, and I'm probably thinking about Meta and Amazon and others, are they going to have to, do we expect them to get hit similarly? Are they going to have to get out in front of this? What do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I think each one of these players, even though they're walled gardens, I think they're still very unique in their own right.
Yeah.
Right. And the Google stack that's been built up around, marketing technologies and advertising technologies, that's been built up over the past 15 or 20 years, combined with their consumer services, right? That is a very different place in the marketplace, right? As far as
we talk about them like they're the same thing, but Meta does not have this SSP stack that the others do. They're in totally different ball game.
Exactly. And, Amazon does not have the depth of share within the search marketplace. Right. They definitely have the depth of share and the market position in sponsored ad products or sponsored product ads. They definitely are a leader in that area, right? But you see that more as in the retail media space.
Sure.
And where the dollars are. It's just that the very dominant position of Google search, right? And the very dominant position of Google Chrome in those specific markets, and the synergies between those businesses are the ones that are really making this look unique and different from the Amazons, the Apples, and the Metas. But I believe that that all of those players will be looked at, because and they should be, right. If any one player has too much market position, there needs to be believe that the government should keep them in check.
Yeah. putting aside the big, the duopoly, triopoly, whatever you want to call it, you're all of a sudden seeing, I don't know if this is because we're looking at a different economic situation, new year, new administration, but a lot of innovation in ad tech and consolidation. What is going on there? What do you think is driving that?
Yeah. Well, what I think is happening, particularly in ad tech, is given the changes in the world of consumer choice and privacy, right, as well as kind of like that continued deepening of the moats that's happening in the walled gardens, I think you need companies that operate at a distinct scale, right? Engineering scale, data scale, just people and business size, so that they can drive the innovation around identity and around the ecosystem that's needed to really drive the scale and the accuracy to kind of like make it happen. So I think the consolidation is going to continue to happen to really get to the players that are going to be critical. Those players will be either consolidating to go and make the case that either I'm consolidating innovation through acquisition, I'm consolidating scale a market, I'm scaling my engineering teams to go and drive that innovation. So I think that will continue. And there's been a lot of that consolidation that's been happening, removing players in the ecosystem. But I think the bigger you are, hopefully if you're well managed, you'll drive a lot of innovation for the market, and that should help all of us.
Okay, you mentioned two words that may or may not belong together, and one's retail media and consolidation. This has been obviously another huge year for retail media. Spending's growing like crazy. There are so many players. Everyone who has data and an audience is getting into that business seemingly. Where is this headed next year? Are we going to see just continued everybody growing? Is there going to be some need for consolidation, change? What's happening?
Well, when I think about it, so you have I don't know. It's not a tale of two cities. It's probably a tale of 1,000 cities. But you definitely have the very, very large retail media players that are anchored in and around Amazon and Walmart, the ones of that size. And I believe they will continue to grow at the rates that they're actually probably not growing at the same rates they're growing, but they'll continue to progress really, really well. I believe that next set of 5 to 25 retailers that have critical mass of scale of consumers are going to continue to grow and drive demand, because there's a core population of OEMs, right? They're OEMs that really have a relationship with that retailer brand, and they want to access that retailer's customers, right? And they want to message them. I think that'll actually happen. But there's a tremendous amount of retailers that sit around our ecosystem that have the opportunity to go and create a retail media network and progress. But the really big challenge is, as a marketer, how do I manage more than just a handful?
Yeah,
it's actually out there today. And the tools on the buy side don't really make that as efficient as they probably would happen. So when I think about it, you're going to continue to see some level of consolidation or syndication that may happen on the sell side or on the retailer side, that allows for multiple retailers to really aggregate the supply or syndicate their supply so that they can meet the demand and make it easier for the OEMs like Procter & Gamble will like to buy, right? You got to make that easier. And I think there'll continue to be more innovation that happens on the buy side and management of multiple entities, because right now each one of these retailers, right? And I see this every day in our retail media network, because we offer on-site sponsored product ads, we offer on-site display, we offer off-site retail media, and for us, it's one buying kind of like experience with that buyer. But usually, a retailer has 3 different suppliers in amongst it. So that's like 3 different buying experiences at every single retailer. That's very cumbersome.
It's not just the number of retailers, but the number of businesses within those companies that are selling. That makes it complicated. I just wonder if nobody wants to give up this idea of, well, this is easy money, high margin business, I'm going to turn it on. I wonder if you'll see retailers band together, or if there's a third party or two that comes in and forms the retail media ad network of the future. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would say that there needs to be somebody that can actually help those retailers come together. There may be a retailer group that actually does it themselves amongst their banners. You see that with some of the retailers that have multiple banners and they can aggregate their loyalty programs into one. I think that's an equivalent, but I think you're going to have a provider that builds that syndicated network for them so that you can actually, because what you want to have as a retailer, if I was a retailer building this, and I'm kind of like an enabler for it, but at Epsilon, but if I was a retailer, I would want to be able to get the benefits of a syndicated network or an aggregated network, but I definitely want the protection and the payout that's relevant to my data.
Right.
I don't want to just give my data in there and then have no promise of getting paid.
Right.
I would like to make money at the commensurate rate of the value of my consumers.
Sure.
And I want to drive some SKU sales too, right? Because I need to drive some churn.
Yeah, because that's a double win. All right, let's shift gears, of course, to AI. Obviously, humongous story the last couple of years. So much excitement around generative, but the action right now seems to be in media planning / buying optimization. You have been out in front of this issue and talking about how important it is to build it. But there's a worry, I think, that the big guys are going to be the only ones that can do it well, and we're going to be handing our media strategies off to these black boxes that are the big platforms that built. Where do agencies and brands fit along that entity? Where do you guys want to go?
Yep. Well, I think AI is an inevitable, right? It is going to happen, and it's here today, and we're seeing a lot of the big name players really doing a great job of bringing in what they call that some of those predictive or performance based solutions to kind of like simplify the media buying and execution. I do not believe that AI is good at making strategic decisions. So I think the humans making strong media strategy decisions that are informed based on data, I think that's still going to be the case in the future. But I do believe that AI is very, very good at making faster decisions than humans can and can scale decisions and really do the tedious tasks. So like when I think about that's not the media strategy. That tends to be the media planning or some of the media execution. So I think the humans are going to be informed and hopefully have better tools and capabilities to build great media strategy components and decent plans. But the execution of those plans, right? AI is going to really get into those spaces and really help the media planner and the media buyer actually drive a lot of innovation in that area. When I think about that, we at Epsilon have been doing that because we're primarily our Epsilon digital product, which is basically a managed service DSP, has been really driving that automation and driving having our AI drive those decisions on media execution to really optimize those outcomes. We've been doing that for the past 7 to 8 years, and we've seen significant impact on making it very, very efficient in managing those media buys. We want to continue to go and drive that and make that more exposed to our clients in a more transparent way, really, so we can really apply it not just to the media delivery, campaign management component optimization, but across that whole media value chain.
Yeah.
Right.
As that kind of buying and planning becomes the norm, does that change the kind of people, I guess the structure of big agencies and the kind of people you bring in? There was a time when all of a sudden every agency had to bring in traders and data scientists and people that they've never had before. Are we going to see yet another shift into the kind of practitioners you need?
Well, that's a great question. When I look at the practitioners that are there today, if I compared and contrast 10 years ago, we had some analytics people, but those analytics teams did not have data scientists. Now they have data scientists in them, right? And those analytics and data science teams are actually, they'd be lucky if they had a good data set 10 years ago to go and manipulate. Now they have clean rooms or they have access to systems that they didn't have before. So I think that part of the business is going to continue to be more and more data driven. There's going to be more, AI like tools and capabilities given to them to unlock those audience insights and build more predictive and performant audiences that are actually there. So I think that's going to continue. I think the media trader, right? I think, these guys are, with the push to programmatic, I feel like these traders have been significantly burdened with a lot of rote tasks in the management of media. And I think that's the opportunity to say, how do we get those media traders to be making those human decisions that are better instead of doing the rote decisions that are there? Because a lot of times they're like trying to quickly set up a campaign and repeating, basic level tasks and doing a lot of bulk line item edits. And it's like, I think we can change that paradigm given AI. We can change that paradigm given how you can optimize those campaigns and deliver them to get them to do things which are a little bit more things that humans can do, which is like look at the campaign performance, make decisions that are based on business areas where you have multiple systems that may not be talking to each other, and really help impact the campaign performance.
Right.
So I don't think the trader is going away, but hopefully we can get them to add more value.
Sounds like a lot more fun job going forward than grinding on the spreadsheets. And
I would hope so. Yeah. I would like the job to be fun.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Awesome conversation. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your holiday season. We'll talk in the new year.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you.